May 9th, 2026. Well, Victory Day in Russia, and by the time anybody sees this, by the time I actually post it, the events will be over, and we'll see whether or not Trump's 3-day truce has prevented a major escalation in the conflict, or was totally ineffective. We'll see how that turns out. And of course, the topics tonight here, the big ones here, the release of the UAP data by the Department of War on their website, war.gov/UFO, if you want to look at those releases, including a lot of videos that we haven't seen before, although they're similar in type. And of course, the other big developments we'll lead off with and then get back to the main topic a little bit in a minute here, is of course the Supreme Court, state Supreme Court decision in Virginia, which basically declared the vote that gerrymandered the congressional districts to be unconstitutional under the state constitution, because the Democrats, after having a governor who campaigned on not doing anything like that, immediately on the first day in office decided to do something like that, and basically didn't follow proper procedures, and in order to get it done in time for the fall election, and apparently that's been struck down. Meanwhile, the U.S. Supreme Court, of course, has struck down the idea of racial gerrymandering, which is allowing some southern states to redistrict also, which kind of counterbalances some of the other things that the Democrats have done in California and so forth. So it looks like so far advantage Republicans. So on that issue, of course, there's other issues and playing around like the war. But so anyhow, we hope for the best here. At least that's a good development in my opinion. So at any rate, moving on to the main topic here, the disclosure of the UAP files or video. Well, a lot of them are videos, and there's also files that go back to. Starts off with an old one, letter to J. Edgar Hoover. There's FBI files, and then there are the basically parts from the Department of War, which largely seem to be off of various drone assets that we have, many of them in combat zones and other areas, in which strange objects are picked up largely on infrared sensors. So these aren't, visual photographs. These are recordings of IR sensors, FLIR type sensors that can basically track the heat signature of the objects. So anyhow, that's and there's a bunch of other things, including reports that people made and so forth. I haven't had time to fully study it. There's like 16 different pages in it with several in each of them. So I intend in the future here to thoroughly study it and have a better report on what's all in there. I think perhaps the main thing, however, is it shows that President Trump's statement that he would be releasing this kind of material was true, and he carried it out, which, there were some skeptics that didn't think he'd really do it. Well, he did, and that's a good thing. If you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, or you can also follow me on Rumble if you prefer. Yeah, so that's a big development that the president's come through on that. And I get the feeling that based on what I've heard, that this is like a first set or tranche of releases, that it's not all that we're going to get. I think mainly we're looking at documents from the FBI, the Department of War, the State Department, and I don't know, I think a couple, three from NASA, including some old stuff, I think, from Apollo flights. One of which seemed to be kind of interesting in of itself, where they seem to photograph some objects on them from the moon. So anyhow, that's that. However, I would also point out that one of the limitations of this set is that I notice there's nothing from, for instance, some other areas like CIA, DIA, the National Reconnaissance Office, the Geospatial Intelligence Office, and the big one, Department of Energy, where the Q clearance resides. And as far as I could see, even when I saw the Aero Group putting out the access they had, I didn't see that they had all access to the DOE material, which would be your it's the nuclear weapons or nuclear energy related data that might have dual use and so forth. And that is where a lot of people think the real situation lies because of the interest in studying the energy source of these things. So anyhow, that's why there's more to be look forward to, and also there's other areas of in Department of War. What about NORAD? I mean, although that's an Air Force area, and well, I guess I was going to say there's no Air Force at one point. I then realized that wasn't quite right because these Reaper drones, where a lot of these videos are probably being taken from, are Air Force assets. So yeah, but I mean, there's other aspects of the Air Force that might have a lot more data that I don't know that was included. So, and that may also be highly sensitive because it involves the strategic warning system of a nuclear attack, of course. So, anyway, that kind of gives you kind of a rundown of what I'm looking at now. There's a bunch of different objects. A lot of times you'll see these things and you'll look at the videos that they're kind of a little, a little dot of light floating around. And it occurred to me, well, first of all, okay, what is that? But I think if you had all the information that they actually have, that is the data behind those video presentations of the IR data, and if you knew what the sensitivity of these sensors are, I think you could make evaluations of what the actual heat of the object is. And so that might tell you, for instance, is this something anomalous or is it just some kind of a weather thing? But the speed at which these things are moving wouldn't suggest any kind of a weather phenomenon, I don't think at all. So you're left with, I think these are legitimate UAPs, of course, and I think that I get the feeling that things that were released are things that the Arrow has not been able to explain away, as I understand it. I think. It sounds like they just present them with like kind of no comment, this is where they are. And even President Trump was kind of taking an attitude like he's not going to give an interpretation of this material, he's just going to present it to you for your consideration. Which, of course, for the rest of us out here who are not technical experts and don't have the ability to look at I guess you call it the metadata behind these things, I'm not sure exactly, what we can do beyond just have our opinions about it. I think people are skeptical, will immediately be dismissing, and I always said this will be good fodder for Mick West to analyze and come up with his debunking effort on them. We'll see what he comes up with. That'll be interesting. Sometimes his debunking isn't quite as good as it was, but I would also say that the bulk of these, not all of them, but are not. Some of the ones that have been released already, that kind of leaked out, were actually a bit more spectacular than what I'm seeing here. And word has it from people like, Representative Burchett and so forth, that there are some far more spectacular things that he's seen in classified briefings that sounds like they would be more instructive than that. And also, I think Lou Elizondo has also made comments of that sort, that what he and his friends put out with to the Stars Academy, however that occurred, were not the best things out there, but they were the things that were, let's say, mild enough that you could justify making a declassified version. Originally it was supposed to be presented as something that could be shown to pilots and other people to be familiar with the type of thing to be looking for and that sort of thing, but they weren't the most spectacular evidential ones, perhaps. So at any rate, I think I guess I'll post a link to that. It's a pretty simple link, actually, in the description below, so anybody wants to look at them themselves, of course. But it's an interesting, development, and we're kind of encouraged that happened. Other developments, I guess we can kind of discuss briefly also at the end of this, the ongoing Iran war situation. Apparently, apparently the holdup that occurred there for a while was, I don't know, there was a bit of concern on the part of a couple of our Arab friends on going forward with this Operation Freedom, but now it's been restarted. We've kind of cleared that up and had 3, I guess, naval vessels go through, destroyers go through the strait and so forth, and apparently they come under attack by Iranian forces, drones and these speedboats, and maybe some missiles or whatever. At any rate, we were able to successfully defend ourselves without any damage, and then retaliated in knocking out some of the positions at which these things were launched from. So, that kind of was a bit of a glitch in the so-called ceasefire, but we're not resuming full-scale operations. We're doing, let's say, limited and proportionate responses to these attacks by them. And apparently they also tried to slip a couple of empty tankers in because they're running out of storage space, allegedly, in Karg Island. And we've used aircraft, apparently, to disable these, apparently using the 20-millimeter Gatling guns on the aircraft. Because these tankers are big, but they're not armored. And so, anyway, so they were able to disable these vessels so they didn't get to their targets because they ignored our instruction to not do so. So, and apparently I've also heard from another report that we actually used our laser on one of these ships to shoot down some drones. So we're getting some real advanced weaponry involved in this as well. And the laser has the advantage, of course, it's after you pay for the cost of the laser, it's cheap to use it as many times as you want, basically. It's not unlike a missile. It costs quite a bit of money per shot. So at any rate, so we can hope that we can get forward with some kind of negotiations. I know the cynics are saying that, and the Iranians are saying that they won't cave. So on the other hand, we're hoping, the administration is hoping to get some kind of positive response. And I guess as of this recording, they were waiting for it. So we'll see what happens, or whether this thing does eventually get to the point where large-scale operations resume. So at any rate, that's about it for this time. As always, I'll be posting this on YouTube and Rumble, and the description of my social media accounts addresses will be in the description below. So all for this time.